Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to explore how to use collision events in Unreal Engine's Niagara System to export particle data to a blueprint to create explosion effects from colliding particles. This will help you enhance your visual effects in games or animations. Let's go ahead and get started. First thing we're going to do is create our Niagara System. For this, we're actually going to have two Niagara systems. We're going to do a simple particle that when it collides with this wall, it's going to export data to a blueprint. And at that position, the position data that gets exported to the blueprint, that is where we will spawn an explosion event. That's one easy trick to do this. There's a lot of useful things that can come out of exporting data. This could be used to damage characters, to add to player health, or this could be used to add to any player stats, or create any other. You can spawn all kinds of class or actors. So lots of good uses out of exporting particle data. But let's go ahead and create our Niagara system. First, we'll create a Niagara system here. I'm just going to start with an empty one, and I'm just going to call this NS homing, or sorry, MS missile with event. We are not going to worry about the homing stuff. I do have a video on homing missiles that you could use to make these look like you want, and it'll work with this the same way. So you can kind of follow both tutorials and be just fine. Let's go ahead and create an empty emitter here. For this, we will need to check this requires persistent identifiers. We'll need this whenever we are exporting data. So go ahead and check that now. That'll be good. And inside of the update, let's go ahead and do an emitter state. We're going to do self and once on this. Should be good there. The next thing, let's go ahead and add a spawn rate. You could do this with a spawn rate, or you can do it with the spawn burst instantaneous. However you want to set up your missiles. This is mostly just to show how this works. Let's do an initialize particle. I want to keep these alive for 10 seconds, although they'll hit the wall long before that. And I want to make these pretty emissive. And I'm just going to use a red there. Let's go ahead and create our particle. So let's render a sprite. Um, let's also change the size of these, make them kind of bigger. No, that'd be fine like that. So 10 seconds, pretty emissive, probably good. Let's see. Let's do that just so we can see it for now, but we'll take it back down to actually maybe the best way to do this will be a spawn burst instantaneous. That way we can actually see it. So there it is. And it'll stay alive for 10 seconds. So that's what we'll do. Okay. So the next thing, let's go ahead and in our particle spawn, let's do a velocity, fix your issues. I want to do this in the X direction. And we're going to have it move in. It doesn't really matter how fast it moves for what we're doing. I like to go ahead and add these things in, not really worrying about how a lot of this stuff is going to work here because we really just need the particle moving for what we're doing. So in the particle update, Let's go ahead and add our collision. This will be important. Everything here should be good. And then let's generate a collision event. These should be good here. And then let's do an export particle data to blueprint. Now, a couple things that's important here. We could either check this, which will constantly export. It's just saying yes, export it, or we can export this based on an event. And what we want to do is export this the way that we're using it here when collision is valid. So we want to get this when the particle has collided. So go ahead and do output collision valid. The next thing we need to do here is set a callback handler. So to do this, we are going to go to user parameter and we're going to create a new variable here, a new parameter of an object. And we're going to call this BP callback handler. Leave that as none, but make sure that this says BP callback handler. The spelling is important and we're going to use it later and we'll need to have it spelled the exact same way. But while that's created, now we can go set that inside of here. So we're going to export this through this callback handler. Go ahead, compile and save. And for now, I think this is all we want. Let's go ahead and um, from here, we're going to create a blueprint that we're going to use as our launcher. Blueprints just kind of make them easier to control. So let's do BP launcher. Let's go ahead and open that up. And I want to create a couple things. One, so we can see where we're moving around. So I'm going to add a cylinder. Let's make it a little smaller here. Move it. I guess we'll leave it here for now. And then we will, let's see. Like that. And on this cylinder, I'm going to attach my Niagara particle system. This is going to be my missile. And let's go ahead and set that to this missile with event. So either do it that way or that. But we can see it's now launching. I'm going to move the missile. I think we want it to face the other way. So it'll shoot out this way. And that's fine for now. So then inside of our launcher, this is all we're going to do for this part. Now let's go to the event graph. For this part, I'm just going to set up a set timer by function name. We'll name this function shoot, all lowercase. This spelling does matter. We are going to create a custom event and it has to be spelled the same way. And let's shoot these every 3 seconds, I guess. And we'll loop it. So for now, that's what we're going to do, just to watch the shoot. Then we're going to create that custom event. And we're going to call this shoot all lowercase. Make sure it's spelled the same as this shoot. And then inside here, we want to grab our missile. And we're going to say set active. Connect that up. New active and reset. So then whenever I pull this out, it is shooting the wrong way. So I did want to set this the other way. So I want to go back and fix that. But really all you have to do is turn your cylinder around. So now we're shooting out the wall, and I also want to make this, it doesn't look as bright as I want it to, so we'll get kind of crazy with it. Maybe that'll help. And we can also increase the size of this just so we can see it a little better. There we go. Okay, there's a particle. Now you see whenever it collided, it bounced back, and that's not what we want to happen for this. It'll continue to bounce and lose some momentum. What we want to do inside of this is we actually want a couple things. So we want to be able to kill this. So kill particles. And what we want to do, we don't want to just kill it. We want to kill this when this has collided. So go ahead and inside particles, you'll have a particle has collided. So this will kill the particle when it's collided with something. So there you saw it disappear. So that's the kind of behavior we want from this. Now if we go back to our launcher, everything should be fine in here for now. The next thing we're going to do is let's go ahead and create our explosion Niagara, which will play whenever this collides with something. So do another Niagara system. I'm going to do it from a selected emitter, and I'm just going to do a confetti burst for now. Nothing too fancy here. We're going to call it NS explosion. And let's make the particles really big so we can see them. And that's probably good enough. Let's see what that looks like when they explode. Yep, that's probably good enough to see them. And then let's go ahead and create another blueprint. This makes it easier to spawn it and to control the particles. So create another actor blueprint, and I'm going to call this BP explosion, if I can spell it. And let's go ahead and open that up. Inside this one, nothing fancy here, just going to add my Niagara particle system. And this is going to be that explosion. I'm going to leave auto activate on, but what I want to do is in event begin play, I'm going to come over here, I'm going to do a delay, and we're actually going to kill these off every few seconds to make sure that we don't get some crazy memory leak going on or have a bunch of these that are just kind of floating off into space. So every 5 seconds or so, we're going to kill off um, ones that are created. So they'll only live for 5 seconds here. You can control this a few ways. You can kill them off in the Niagara system as well. But I'm just going to do it like this. And that's all we're going to do in here. We have our Niagara system and we're killing it. It's only alive for 5 seconds. So the next thing we're going to do, go back into our BP launcher. And inside of this, the first thing we need to do is actually go to our class settings and we need to implement the interface that allows us to communicate with the particle data. So we're going to go to interfaces, add a Niagara particle callback handler. So you'll see that over here in your interfaces. Then come up here, we're going to grab our missile. And from here, I'm going to say set Niagara variable by, and we want to do an object. And this is, we're going to set um, that object that we had created This BP callback handler, we're going to set this. That's what we're using. So we need this to be the exact same. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy that name there and go back into my launcher, and I'm going to paste that into there. And for the object that we're going to set this to is going to be ourself, or this blueprint that we're inside. So I'm just going to say self. So put a reference to self. So the next thing we're going to do is come down below this, and I'm going to say event receive receive particle data. Oh, there we go. Double click this. It'll just give you the one that I was misspelling it or something. But yeah, double click this, and it'll give you your node that we're going to use here. From this, I'm going to do a for each loop. And from here, out of this element, from each of these particles, it's sending specific data. The data that we're sending, you can actually set it here. We really care about this position. These are the things that are being sent currently, but we're worried about this position for what we're doing here. So go back into your launcher. Let's go ahead and break the data out of here. And with the position, the first thing we're going to do, let's just print it and see that we're seeing it. So when this collides, we should see some position data shooting out here, and we do. So the idea of what we're going to do is when this receives that information, instead of just printing that, we're actually going to spawn another Niagara system at that location. So it'll look like the impact happens and an explosion happens. So that's the idea of what we're doing. So I'm going to continue to print that just so we see it. But from here, let's go ahead and do a spawn actor from class. Let's split our transform, take that position and put it into the spawn transform location, which is where this will spawn, which is where this particle has collided at. And then the class that we're going to spawn is going to be that explosion. It does look like I misspelled it, so I missed an O, but there's our explosion there. So that's basically all we have to do, and that is it. So now when these particles hit this wall, we should see an explosion occur, and we do. So again, with this, you can export all kinds of information from the particle with different events, whether it's when the particle dies, when it explodes with something. You can just send the particle data the whole time. So if you want it to track each particle's position, you can. And with that information, you can always spawn different blueprints, spawn events, make all kinds of things happen. This is just a simple use for it, but this is one of the tricky workarounds to really interacting with these particles. It's not straightforward in the system yet. Hopefully, in the future, it will be. But this is a good way to interact with Niagara particles. So, with the system that we just created, is the same that I used for this effect. Um, so basically, when these missiles hit anywhere that they collide with, it doesn't have to be with where a target is. Anything that has a collision to it, when they collide, it is spawning that effect. So this is the kind of stuff that you can really create with this and make things look a little more believable in Unreal Engine. These homing missiles are the same that I created in another video. So if you want these homing missiles, go ahead and check out that video. Create these homing missiles, add the collision event, and then export that data to a blueprint and use it the same way where they create these explosions as they happen. And that's going to do it for our tutorial on using collision events with the Niagara System and Unreal Engine to create explosion effects. I hope this helps you with your project. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below with any questions or what you'd like to see next. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.